Seems like we need tests. We can line up tests, like anyone game for some fun.
The beginning of the pandemic produced a huge business opportunity, even for companies with no experience providing health care.
Email 14 days ago has turned into a more than full-time job, so that's terrific.
Mark Newman is a University of Utah Business School graduate working in Utah's Silicon Slopes. His company, called Nomi Health, responded to the demand for testing. This was Newman on March 25th.
I've been trying to learn as fast as everyone else and break this into kind of systems. So if a clinician is listening to this and says, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, just call me up and help educate me. We're trying to move as fast as we can.
6 weeks later, the state of Tennessee would give Nomi a massive contract worth $26.5 million with no bidding.
I mean, this is frankly worse than our worst fears.
Tennessee State Senator Jeff Yarbrough.
Entering into a $25 million no-bid contract with a company with a lack of experience over the objections of the professional staff of the agency is one of the most shocking things that I've seen in my time in state government.
Today, we have an important announcement, an important development on the testing front.
Utah Governor Gary Herbert was the first to give a no-bid contract to the company. An email showed that 2 weeks later, Republican political consultant Tony Simon from Atlanta was pitching a Nomi contract to Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's Chief of Staff Blake Harris, who put him in direct touch with Tennessee Health Commissioner Lisa Piercy. 2 weeks after that, Tennessee Health Department staff got the good news that the commissioner is arranging for a contract, probably already signed, with a company called Nomi to facilitate mass testing for COVID.
The problems here were so obvious from the beginning that it's clear we just didn't follow a good process for contracting.
It's been a lot of fun to see how fast things can coalesce.
Besides Newman's own words, there were already warning signs. From a story in the Salt Lake Tribune the day before Piercy signed the contract, warning of a potential public health disaster in Utah.
If you just went back through the podcasts and stuff that was coming out of this group of companies, the language was kind of dismissive of medical expertise, sort of bragging about the fact that we've thrown this together in 3 weeks, we figured this out.
Reporter Aaron Alberti broke that story that quoted an email from one of Governor Herbert's own experts that a pandemic is not the time for amateurs to learn. He worried that Nomi was finding far fewer COVID cases than other testing operations. Alberti spoke with reporter Phil Williams of our sister station WTVF in Nashville.
The difference was pretty stark. There were about half the rate of positive results that all the other Utah testers were getting.
Which raised the prospect that you were getting lots of false negatives.
Potentially, that was the concern.
We are on the forefront of testing proactively.
Inside Tennessee's health department, the head of the state's laboratory services reacted. Please tell me we can get out of this contract, or better yet, it has not been signed. The response? The contract was already signed, sealed, and delivered. The commissioner would like to start in a couple of weeks.
If the leader of our health response isn't talking to her own lab when signing a testing company, it makes you question whether anything's going right.
This is a public-private partnership between the state of Iowa, Nomi Health.
A few days later, another article warned that a Nomi contract, signed by Iowa's Republican governor, wasn't living up to its promise either.
We've helped the state source something like 2 million pieces of product for the first responder community: masks, gowns, suits.
Mark Newman and other Nomi officials had also claimed they could deliver the personal protective equipment needed for the testing process. But instead of medical gloves, they delivered breeder gloves used by veterinarians. They also got hydrogen peroxide wipes that were for veterinary use and not appropriate for disinfecting from coronavirus. And their N95 masks were not FDA approved. A formal study by Tennessee's Health Laboratory finally concluded they had no confidence in the reliability of the Nomi test, and as a result, we cannot endorse the use of the Nomi test system for COVID-19. On June 15th, the state issued a notice of termination of contract, claiming Nomi had caused life, health, or safety to be jeopardized. But in the end, Tennessee's health commissioner approved a payment of $5.9 million to settle with the company. Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.